Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about if novices should be running Bulgarian style training. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Now when I say Bulgarian style training, I'm talking about the type I was doing several years ago and I'm doing again now. Like when I was prepping for meets before, it's what I used to do. What guys like Greg Knuckles talk about. We're not talking about true Bulgarian training. Now, some people who go watch like Juggernaut training systems, they'll see Max on there did it, and what he describes is the true Bulgarian system in Bulgaria for Olympic lifting. That is not exactly what we're talking about. We're basically talking about really high frequency training maxes on your big lifts. All right, so meaning if you're squatting every day to a training max, or even 5 or 6 days a week, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about the true Bulgarian 3-day a week, 40 hours a week spent in the weight room system, working on 3 exercises. So let me get that out there first. We are talking about more for powerlifting and general strength because it is becoming more popular for obvious reasons. Now, the reason I need to bring this up for novices is I had someone say, hey, you need to make this clear. It was a criticism leveled at me that that's what I'm doing, but make sure that you understand that this isn't for novices. Make this clear to people new to your channel. Someone who's been working out 3 months, they don't want to jump into this. So the question becomes, what do I consider to be the baseline level of skills that you need to jump into this style of training system? And I want to keep this in perspective. This is my opinion, purely my opinion. There are experts who will disagree on this. For example, John Brose has said in interviews he has no problem taking a ranked novice and putting them on this style of system if he is coaching them. He'll take someone who's new to lifting and he'll coach them from day one as their actual coach. He'll put them on this. Now what I'm going to say is that if you don't have a coach who coaches people in this manner working with you every day, meaning you don't get to go work out on your own ever, then it's fine. Of course, Jamie Lewis will put people on similar type things too, because he's like, if you don't train this way, you're a pussy. I mean, that's basically his perspective. What I'm going to say is that, yeah, if you don't have a coach, you don't need to be doing this up front. What's the minimum thing that you need? Well, you need to develop a mastery and a technical proficiency of any lifts that you think you are likely to be using early on in this system. And by a technical proficiency, I mean your lifts need to be perfect. And I don't mean perfect by, oh, the internet says it's okay. Meaning, you know, there are people who look at Keno Booty's lifts and say, I don't see any problem with his form. So, I mean, people like that aren't qualified to tell you how to perform a lift. So what do I mean by a technical proficiency? I mean when you do a moderately heavy weight, can you come in on the bench press every time you train? Even if you're lifting really heavy or close to failure, can you pause on the chest on every rep? Can you keep your elbows tucked at the bottom? Can you keep your ass flat on the bench and can you keep your feet from moving? Meaning go film yourself doing 5 or 6 different heavy sets of bench press. And if when you set up a bench press, any rep, it looks like your ass might clear the bench or your feet dance or move. In other words, from the point you unrack to you re-rack it, if you see your feet dance or shift or move at any point on the bench press, you don't know how to bench yet. You're not technically proficient. This system's not for you. Same thing on a barbell squat. If you can't consistently go below parallel on every set with good form, without looking up with your head, without doing dumb stuff like that. In other words, if you can't keep a neutral neck and go below parallel on a fairly heavy squat, even a grinder, every single time, then you're not ready for this. So you need a degree of mobility to where you can squat to depth. And when I say to parallel, I don't mean guys who put up their videos and they'll try to say that I'm weak and I look and they're lifting less than me with knee wraps and they're high. And then they claim, oh, I went ass to grass. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about legitimately breaking parallel, which is probably about 6 inches deeper than the average person's definition of ass to grass. The average person's definition of ass to grass is about 4 or 5 inches above parallel. See, guys who claim they're squatting deep or ass to grass and they're not even breaking parallel. If they went 4 inches deeper than they did in that video, they would still probably get red lighted at a powerlifting meet. And you only have to break below parallel at a powerlifting meet. No, I mean the crease in your hip has to go below your knee. If you can't do that, even on your heaviest sets consistently, you're not ready for this training method. If you get elbow pain from squatting, you don't know how to squat correctly, yeah, you need to work on your form. If you can't front squat in a rack position, and while keeping your torso upright even when you get close to failure, you're not ready for this system. So in other words, the guys who are crossing their arms, guys who need to use straps to front squat, you don't need to be doing this system yet. You need to develop a basic proficiency. Can you do your chin-ups from a dead hang at the bottom? Can you touch your chest on a standing press with the barbell? And can you lock it overhead without the bar drifting in front of your face? In other words, can you push in a straight line without it drifting forward? All right, these are what we're talking about. When you deadlift, do you deadlift with arms slack, or have you learned to pull the slack out of the bar and ratchet up tight before you deadlift? A basic proficiency. You need to video yourself, and if you have any of these problems, you're not proficient at these exercises. You need to learn how to perform them correctly, because when you start lifting maximum loads 5, 6, 7 days a week, every day for the next 6 months, if you have these problems, you haven't learned how to get tight, you lack mobility, you don't know how to remove slack from a bar, you don't know how to find the correct bar paths, you don't know how to position your head, this is going to become a problem for you. You're going to end up getting hurt. So you need to have a basic proficiency. And what I would say for most people, after you've built a little bit of a base, maybe run about 6 weeks of doing 10 sets of 3, right? Take the 6 basic exercises you think you might rotate through and do 6 weeks of progression running 10 sets of 3 with each one of those exercises every week. And if you need to do it, say a full body or whatever, 3 days a week, pick 2 of those 6 exercises you're going to do. You know, it could be the squat and bench one day, it could be the deadlifts and overhead press another day, it could be the power clean and the row, or the clean and the chin up on the final day, right? Run 10 sets of 3 for 6 weeks straight to master your lifts. You'll practice getting 10 first reps on your work sets. You'll get plenty of volume. You'll build a base. Then maybe ease into 3 or 4 weeks, if not 6 weeks of concurrent style training, to where again you have a volume day with triples, and then maybe build to a max triple every other workout on some of these lifts. So rotate through them that way in a concurrent system, to where you alternate volume triples with going fairly heavy, and that will get you used to the heavy loads while maintaining your mastery. And then, so after about 12 weeks of doing something like that, and you're technically proficient in all of your lifts, or at least your 6 basic lifts you think you're going to start with, then rotate into a max effort system. But make sure that you have all the basic movement patterns down, that you can perform at least one exercise with good proficiency, with good mastery, perfect setups, perfect tightness, on at least one of all the basic motor patterns, all the basic movement patterns. Some sort of squat, some sort of hip hinge, a vertical pull, horizontal pull, vertical press, horizontal press. Make sure that you can do them, that you have good mobility, you can do full ranges of motion, and that your form is good. And I gave you guys perfect examples of knowing if your form is good and your mobility is good. And if you can't do those things, you're not ready. So I think that's what most people would need who say, hey, I want to try to train this way. And you can start easy with it. You can start by doing it 4 days a week or 5 days a week, and then gradually build as you're able to. But you need to have mastered the lifts first. You need to have mastered the lifts. And you need to get a focus of that you're going in focused on these lifts, because that lift mastery phase will also get you into the correct mindset that you are training movement patterns, not body parts. because that is also going to be a prerequisite. It's going to be the mindset of understanding what you are doing. And if you're still thinking in terms of body parts, you're going to run into a lot of problems in the system for a whole lot of other reasons, but you're going to have to drop that mindset. If you literally start thinking in terms of I need to train arms, this system is not going to work very well for you. You're going to end up with a lot of inflammation. You're going to end up getting hurt because you're going to start wanting to add a bunch of fluff in that you don't need. Furthermore, you need to commit to your rest and recovery. If you can't commit to a lifestyle to where you know you can sleep 8 hours a night, 7 nights a week, I mean, a one-off, it can happen from time to time, but it can't be every Friday night. If you can't commit to 8 hours of sleep, and even Greg Nuckols says this about this system, this training system is not for you. It's not for you. And guys who say stuff like, well, I barely get 5 hours of sleep every night, you need to realize that you're never going to make gains on any system on 5 hours of sleep every night. You're going to need drugs to pretty much grow or to make anywhere near ideal gains on that sort of lifestyle. It's just not going to work. So those are the minimums that I think are necessary for someone to ease into a system like this. And you could still technically be a novice and make a system like this work, but you need to have done the things that I broke down earlier. And I think you really need about 12 weeks or so to prepare for something like this. It's just my opinion. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.